Have you ever stopped to consider the invisible weight you've been carrying? That heavy, silent burden of constantly pleasing others, always smiling when you don't feel like it, agreeing when you want to say no, giving away your time, energy, and heart without pause. Perhaps you learned early that your worth depended on how happy you made those around you. Maybe it started with subtle hints from family, quiet disapproval whenever you voiced your own preferences, or that unmistakable look of disappointment when your desires didn't align with theirs. So you learned quickly and quietly how to please. You learned to nod, to smile, to silence your voice, until your true feelings faded into whispers, barely audible even to yourself. And yet, you've carried on year after year, adapting effortlessly to the needs of others, carefully shaping yourself into exactly what you think everyone else expects. You became the perfect friend, the perfect partner, the perfect colleague, always supportive, always reliable, always available. But deep down, beneath this polished image, a quiet sadness began to grow, an emptiness you could never quite name, because every time you chose another's comfort over your own truth, you left behind tiny fragments of your authenticity, pieces of yourself that you thought nobody would miss, least of all, you. But one day, exhaustion finds you, not all at once but gradually. It seeps into your bones, into your soul, a heaviness that sleep cannot ease. You wake up and look in the mirror, barely recognizing the tired face staring back at you. It's not just physical tiredness, it's something deeper, a profound weariness from constantly being someone you're not. Every yes you didn't mean feels heavier than the last. Every smile a little less sincere, every moment a quiet betrayal of your truth. You begin to realize how long you've been wearing this mask. It's become so natural that you almost forgot what your real face looks like beneath it. But beneath that practiced smile, beneath the polite laughter that hides your discomfort, is someone longing to breathe, someone yearning to be seen, not as the perfect reflection of everyone else's expectations, but as who you truly are, beautifully imperfect, deeply human, and genuinely yourself. Then comes the painful realization: you've been running a marathon, not of your own making, chasing approval from people who might never fully appreciate or even see the real you, sacrificing precious pieces of yourself along the way. And for what? For the fleeting warmth of acceptance? For the temporary peace that evaporates the moment you stop complying? Think about those quiet moments late at night, when silence surrounds you, and there's no one left to please, no audience, no judgment. Isn't that when your truth emerges softly, asking if you're really happy living like this? Perhaps you've ignored that gentle voice for too long. Perhaps you've become so used to pleasing others that you've forgotten how to please yourself. Imagine for a moment the cost of continuing this way. Another year, another decade. Imagine the loneliness of always being surrounded yet never truly seen, understood, or embraced for who you actually are. Imagine waking up 10 years from now, even more tired, even more disconnected, your heart still craving recognition not from others, but from yourself. What if the kindness you deserve most is the kindness you've always given away so freely? What if your own acceptance, your own approval, matters far more than theirs ever could? Consider that perhaps the greatest betrayal isn't disappointing others, but continuously abandoning yourself time after time, leaving your dreams unspoken, your needs unmet, your heart unheard. Today, at this very moment, you stand at a powerful crossroads. You have the choice to keep walking down the familiar path of quiet sacrifice, or to take a brave step towards self-reclamation, a step toward authenticity, toward honesty, toward the freedom of truly being yourself. And yes, it might be scary. It might mean disappointing some, losing the comfort of superficial approval. But what you gain in return is immeasurable. A chance to finally reclaim your own life, your own voice, your own happiness. Because deep down, you already know your real journey begins the moment you realize your own approval was the only one you ever truly needed. No feels like such a dangerous word, doesn't it? It's a tiny word, yet using it can feel as if you're risking everything you've built. Relationships, friendships, family bonds that seem strong, yet fragile enough to unravel with a single refusal. You're afraid of the quiet judgments, the subtle guilt trips, the cold silences that follow your honesty. You're scared that people who have always counted on you will suddenly turn their backs, labeling you as selfish or unkind. Maybe you've become so accustomed to saying yes that it's become an automatic response, almost a reflex, even when everything inside you silently screams no. Each reluctant yes chips away at something precious inside you, leaving behind a residue of quiet resentment that slowly builds. This resentment doesn't just harm you, it quietly corrodes the very relationships you're trying so desperately to protect. Yet imagine a different scenario. Picture yourself saying no calmly, clearly, without anger, apology, or guilt. Imagine your heart beating strongly as you stand confidently behind this small yet mighty word. You're not pushing others away, you're simply drawing a boundary, a healthy, necessary line that honors both your limits and theirs. Imagine experiencing the incredible relief of honesty, feeling the powerful simplicity of being true to your inner voice. Let me share with you the story of James, who spent his life as the person everyone relied on, the listening ear, the comforting presence, the endless source of favors and emotional support. James loved being needed, loved the validation that came with every grateful smile. But quietly, silently, something inside him was eroding. His own needs, dreams, and happiness became afterthoughts, buried beneath the endless demands of others. One day, completely overwhelmed, James found himself at a breaking point. Exhausted by giving without receiving, he realized something had to change. For the first time, he took a deep breath and said no, not harshly, not angrily, just firmly and honestly. The initial shock was intense. People around him reacted with surprise, confusion, and even hurt. Some stepped away, uncomfortable with this new boundary. Yet something remarkable began to happen. The friendships that survived that honest no became deeper, richer, infinitely more genuine. James discovered something powerful in that moment. Those who respected his boundaries didn't love him less. They loved him more authentically. They valued him, not for what he could provide, but simply for who he was. He learned that real bonds, the ones truly worth having, are strong enough to handle honesty. The act of saying no transformed James's life, not by diminishing his relationships, but by clarifying and strengthening them. Saying no isn't closing a door, it's opening one to a life built on honesty, clarity, and mutual respect. When you clearly express your boundaries, you create space for genuine connections, for real love, and for relationships where you're appreciated exactly as you are, not for what you can endlessly give. You've likely been conditioned to believe that choosing yourself first is selfish, that putting your needs ahead of others makes you cold, uncaring, maybe even arrogant. Especially if you're someone with a soft heart, it can feel like betrayal, like you're turning your back on people you care about. But pause with that thought for a moment. Have you ever truly asked yourself, who benefits from me constantly putting myself last? Does your exhaustion make anyone else feel more alive? Does your silent suffering really make the world a better place? Or does it just keep everyone stuck in a quiet cycle of unspoken resentment? We're often told that love means sacrifice, that being a good partner, parent, friend, or human being requires giving until it hurts. And maybe for a while, that feels right, noble even. But eventually, the hurt becomes too loud to ignore. Eventually, you begin to feel hollow, unseen, depleted. Let me tell you about Sarah. She was the kind of mother everyone praised, devoted, tireless, always putting her family first. She believed her exhaustion was proof of love, that if she just kept giving, pushing, showing up, everything would stay intact. But slowly, something shifted. The love she poured out began to return as obligation, not warmth. The light in her eyes dimmed. Her children, once so close, became distant, not because they didn't love her, but because they no longer recognized the version of her that existed only to serve. One day, Sarah paused. She sat in the garden while her children played, and for the first time in years, she asked herself, what if I mattered too? She didn't run away, didn't abandon anyone. She simply began to say yes, to rest, to joy, to things that refilled her soul. She read books again, took walks alone, danced in the kitchen, and slowly, something beautiful happened. Her laughter returned, her presence softened, and her children leaned in again because this version of her felt real, alive, whole. Sarah realized a powerful truth. Loving yourself doesn't take away from anyone else. It adds to everyone, because when you are full, you have something true to offer. But when you're running on empty, even your love becomes survival. Even your care turns into quiet bitterness. Choosing yourself is not selfish. It is how you survive, how you stay grounded, how you become a person who can love without losing themselves. It's not about walking away from your relationships. It's about showing up to them more fully, more honestly, more joyfully. You don't need permission to make yourself a priority. You only need the courage to remember that your well-being matters, not as a reward for how much you've given, but as a truth that stands on its own. It feels radical to prioritize your happiness openly, doesn't it? Almost rebellious, maybe even a little selfish. You've been taught, directly or indirectly, that joy is something you earn after the hard work is done, after the stress, after the responsibilities, after everyone else is taken care of. And even then, it should be quiet joy, subtle, controlled, joy that doesn't make anyone else uncomfortable. But why? Why should happiness ever need an explanation, or worse, an apology? Somewhere along the line, you learn to justify every smile, to treat peace like a reward, only handed out after you've endured enough suffering to deserve it. You've been told to keep your joy small, hidden, manageable, to tone it down. Because what will people think if you're truly, visibly, unapologetically happy? But here's the truth that no one told you. Happiness is not a trophy at the end of suffering. It's a choice that lives in the present. It doesn't require permission. It just requires your presence. Let me tell you about Michael. He was the embodiment of success, on paper. A prestigious job, a six-figure salary, a beautiful apartment. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But inside, Michael felt like he was slowly drowning. His days were filled with pressure, meetings, deadlines, noise. The joy he thought would arrive when he made it never came. It was always just one more promotion away, one more year of grinding, one more milestone. Then, one morning, he sat alone by the sea. No phone, no agenda, just stillness. And in that silence, a question floated to the surface. What if I'd been waiting for something I already had the power to choose? It hit him hard. He realized that happiness wasn't hiding in some distant future. It wasn't waiting for approval or a perfect moment. It was waiting for him. That day, Michael made the boldest decision of his life. He left the job, downsized his life, and started over. Not because everything was falling apart, but because he was finally ready to stop sacrificing joy for the sake of appearing successful. He didn't run away from responsibility. He simply chose to stop living in a constant state of emotional bankruptcy. He made his happiness visible, prioritized it, protected it, and little by little, people around him noticed something had shifted, not just in his life, but in their own. Because that's the beautiful thing about joy. It's not selfish, it's contagious. When you live in a way that honors your happiness, you quietly give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror, reflecting what's possible. Think about that. When you hide your joy, you hide a roadmap for others too. But when you let it be seen, fully, freely, you remind people of what they've been missing. You show them it's okay to laugh loudly, rest deeply, say yes to what lights them up, and no to what dims their spirit. So ask yourself honestly, have you been waiting for permission to be happy? From your parents, your boss, your partner, from society? If so, let this be the moment that ends the wait. You are allowed to be happy, without guilt, without fear, without explanation. You don't need to prove your pain to earn your peace. You don't need to suffer first to justify your joy. You don't need to shrink your happiness so others feel more comfortable in their dissatisfaction. You just need to remember one simple, powerful truth. You deserve to feel good, not someday, now. Ultimately, placing yourself first isn't about turning your back on others. It's not about shutting down, isolating, or cutting people off. It's about something far deeper, far more personal. It's about finally choosing to live as who you truly are, without apology or performance. It's about peeling back the layers of who you've had to be, to reveal who you've always been underneath. There's a quiet kind of suffering in pretending, one that doesn't always scream, but gnaws at you silently over the years. You know it, don't you? That feeling of smiling at the right moments, saying what's expected, laughing when it's polite, staying quiet when your truth wants to speak. And all the while, something within you is shrinking, not dying, no, just fading, becoming dim. You become a version of yourself that's easy to love, easy to manage, easy to understand, but also painfully incomplete. Until one day, you look around at your life, your relationships, your career, your reflection in the mirror, and realize none of it feels like you. You've built a version of yourself that everyone accepts, except you. Now imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and for the first time, you give yourself permission to just be. No more roles, no more masks, no more editing yourself to fit what other people expect. You speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. You wear what makes you feel alive. You set boundaries without guilt. You choose joy, peace, rest, and passion, not because others approve, but because you do. That is freedom. That is power. That is you, fully returned to yourself. Let me tell you about Emma. Emma was known as the peacekeeper, the one who always said the right thing, always soothed tension, always put others at ease. She feared that if she showed her full self, the mess, the passion, the honesty, people would leave. So she softened her edges, diminished her voice. She became small in all the places she was meant to be bold. But the cost was heavy. She felt lonely, even surrounded by people. Her relationships felt safe, but hollow. And so one day, in a moment of clarity and courage, she did something she had never done before. She told the truth, fully, gently, but completely. And yes, some people walked away. The version of Emma they had known no longer existed, and not everyone could handle that. But others stayed, and the ones who remained, they saw her, not the polite version, not the people pleaser. They saw her, and they loved her not despite her truth, but because of it. For the first time, Emma felt free, not because everyone accepted her, but because she finally accepted herself. You see, the goal was never to become perfect. It was to become real. Living authentically will cost you something. It might cost you approval. It might cost you relationships that were built on who you used to pretend to be. But what you gain in return is immeasurable. Peace, integrity, emotional clarity, a life that feels like home. Because the deepest loneliness isn't being alone. It's being surrounded by people while hiding the most important parts of yourself. And the most beautiful connection you will ever experience is the one that comes after you've shown up as your whole self and someone says, "I see you, and I'm not going anywhere." So let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop living to be tolerated and start living to be known. Let this be the moment where you choose your own voice over their comfort. Let this be the moment where you take off the mask, gently, lovingly, and finally, let your soul breathe. Because the greatest freedom isn't found in others' approval. It's found in the quiet, steady courage to be exactly who you are. And that, more than anything else, is what makes you unstoppable.